The sustainable movement is picking up steam as more and more companies work to adopt sustainability initiatives. In this video, you'll hear from two associates at Hypertherm, a US-based manufacturer of advanced cutting systems. Part 1 will discuss the business case for sustainability and why Hypertherm feels sustainability is so important. Part 2 will show you some of the things Hypertherm is doing to reach its goals.
Well, I think manufacturers and fabricators generally think about sustainability efforts in three ways. One is certainly a company's mission and set of values. A second is customer and market demands. And a third, of course, would be costs, organizational costs. Clearly Hypertherm has very strong convictions as part of its core mission and values. To ensure that business is sustainable and that we're making room and leaving resources for the next generation. Certainly we think that's an inevitable part of the future as resources around the world continue to be consumed and the cost of those resources rise. But I think it's also interesting and valuable to think about costs a little bit in the same way that the world looked at the quality movement starting in the 1980s. Initially at that time, quality was viewed as actually bearing higher costs. In other words, having to spend more in terms of product inputs or more in inspection time, slowing production operations down. Whereas, in fact, the truth was that quality actually reduced costs by improving the quality, reducing defects, reducing scrap, improving overall efficiency in time, and of course yielding a higher quality product that customers were willing to pay more for. And I think we're finding at Hypertherm, and I think the industry is finding generally, that the same is true of sustainability efforts. It's really just a different filter and lens through which to look at your operations, to understand waste in different pockets, whether that's material waste in packaging coming in that's ultimately discarded and not used, or if it's simply in the waste products of lost energy and lost efficiency in the operations, or ultimately the cost of pollutions or landfill and waste, both those costs that are immediate to the company and externalities that the external environment or governments are likely to charge businesses in time. So we really look at it in that way, and we tackle the organizational costs, really view it as an opportunity to measure things in different ways, to look at packaging cost components of incoming materials, to understand the energy costs of individual work units and understand how that might be improved. The keys really are measurement in a different way than we're accustomed to. And then setting goals. As we've always said in business, what gets measured gets done. So if we set goals and we determine aligned measures and then plan the work and work the plan, generally that's the same formulation we'd used in all cost reduction efforts, and the same would hold true in sustainability. And then finally, we think the long-term demands of customers are going to be significant in this direction. The U.S. today, the per capita energy consumption in the U.S. is roughly twice that of Europe and roughly 4 times that of the larger world outside of the U.S. So that in the next 10 to 20 years, as the developing world aspires to Western living standards, we can reasonably expect that energy consumption is going to at least double. Similarly, natural resources, so metals, timber, all manner of natural resources. The U.S. per capita use is about 11 times higher than the rest of the world. So we see the world as moving in a direction of higher energy consumption and higher natural resource consumption, and likely higher costs in all those areas. And Hypertherm's customers and fabrication customers generally are high energy consumers and high materials consumers, whether that's steel in what's being processed or copper, for instance, in the consumable parts used in our systems. We reasonably expect in the next decade or two that those costs are going to rise, and that manufacturers who are in the best position with the most efficient products, who have insights and knowledge and experience in how to run efficient operations and how to convey that knowledge through their products and services to customers, are going to be the winners.
Hi, I'm Jenny Levy. I'm the Director of Corporate Social Responsibility at Hypertherm, and we're here in Hanover, New Hampshire. We make and design and engineer machines that cut metal using plasma technology. I'm standing in front of 3 of our PowerMax plasma cutters. These systems use electricity and air to cut metal through plasma. We also have some mechanized products in our HPR line. Collectively, all of our plasma cutting machines are our single largest footprint on the environment across our global installed base. At Hypertherm, we want to do everything that we can to help our installed base reduce its carbon footprint and its environmental footprint through the cutting process. So we have some goals around improving our energy efficiency, our carbon efficiency, and then the waste profile of our products as well. In 2010, we started with our baseline environmental footprint at Hypertherm. And doing that work actually quickly showed us where we needed to make the greatest impacts in reducing our footprint. And from that work, we created this dashboard of goals for 2020. And it's really a set of strategies that we set out for the entire company to really drive towards some aggressive but hopefully attainable goals across our products, our logistics, and our business operations, looking at our waste streams, our energy efficiency, and our carbon impacts. One of our goals for 2020 is to become a zero landfill waste organization. We made tremendous progress last year in 2011 toward that goal, where we went from 42% landfill waste to 32% landfill waste, and also saw an absolute reduction in our landfill waste by 8%, even though our sales increased and our associates increased. One of the key ways that we did that, and any fabricator could do this, is to really expand what waste streams you have that don't go to the landfill. For us, we contracted with a zero-sort recycling process that allowed us to use a single stream for all of our recyclables, and also allowed us to expand to more types of plastics, paper, glass, metals, cardboard, and that was a huge improvement in diverting waste from the landfill. Another way that we did this is we introduced composting. We started it as a pilot just in the kitchen of our cafeteria, and the chef and his staff were composting kitchen scraps, and now we do it in our cafeteria and are about to expand it out to our operations as well. And so far, that's been 26,000 pounds of diverted waste from the landfill just from composting. So it's taken some change for our associates, but we've already seen tremendous success. One of our goals we set for ourselves this year in 2012 was to take 75,000 pounds of waste out of the landfill. One of the key ways we plan on doing that is to actually start using reusable and returnable packaging across our supply chain. We have a packaging engineer who will be coming on staff to help us do this, but our procurement community and supply-based managers are working across all of our suppliers with creating returnable packaging that's taking away foam, plastic wrap, even recyclable materials as well, so that we don't have to handle that kind of waste in our operations.